Over the last week, many people have sent me videos of the Rabbit R1 and they've asked me, Varun, what are your thoughts on this? And to summarize, I'm very bullish about the company and the team, but not so much on the product. Before we get into why, let me just quickly summarize the Rabbit R1 for you. It's a device with a speaker, screen, mic, and all the AI stuff that it's actually running, which is the large action model, is online. It's running it on the cloud, so it doesn't need powerful processing. Now, if it doesn't need powerful processing, you can bring the price down. So this is a device that costs $199, roughly 16,000 rupees, and it's much cheaper than a phone. And a lot of people have said, it's so much cheaper than a phone, so why not? Their value add is a large action model, like I said, which is used to sort of use apps by figuring out how to navigate through the app by itself and making the final purchase or order for you. Which means if you want to book a cab, all you have to do is say, I need to book a cab to this place, and it will do that for you. It also has a training mode which allows you to teach it new skills. So you wanted to use any new type of app in the way you use it, you can train the device. And all of this is really cool. It also looks like a very polished device. But this is why I'm not a big fan. A lot of people keep saying, hey, this is a $199 replacement to the phone, and it has no distractions, no apps, no content, etc. They are wrong. See, I've been following the debate around AI devices quite closely, and I think there's some misunderstanding from some people on what a smartphone actually does. People think the value of a modern smartphone is in using utility apps like booking a cab or ordering food or whatever. This is true, but it isn't the power use case. If you look at the average human screen time, if you look at your screen time, 90% of your usage will be consuming content, images, text, and video. When you use WhatsApp also, it's images and text that you're consuming most of the time. So I'll tell you how most humans use the phone. There was this book I read a long time ago called Brave New World. It's also a TV series. It's written by Aldous Huxley, and that book is about a futuristic society, right? So what they do is, they carry with them a bunch of drugs. They call the drug Soma. It's a drug you pop every few hours to ease your boredom and anxiety. And every time they feel even a little bit bored or anxious, they pop the drug. Most of us consume content in periodic intervals on our phones as a way to do exactly this, as a way to load up on dopamine. And the minute the ability of a user to explore and consume content, which is consume these drugs, is removed, it becomes a pure utility device with 5 minutes of usage time per day. So even though a lot of people on the internet will virtue signal, they'll be like, I want to get off, I want to stop doom scrolling, I want to stop watching reels. They don't actually do that. Because even today, you can delete the Instagram app, you can delete the Twitter app, and many of you actually end up deleting the apps, but you always reinstall it. It's a drug. And we are all very good at virtue signaling by saying, we want to get off this, we don't want to do this. But our buying behavior, our screen time usage patterns all dictate that we are addicted to the drug of consuming content. And that's where 5 to 6 hours of your time goes per day. The minute you bring out a device and you say, we don't have that, a lot of people think they want that, but then they stop using it after a while. So it's got a lot of hype. The first cycles might sell, but after that, people are going to go back to their phones and start consuming this content in micro drips like we always do. By removing the main dopamine provider, you have a device that's far less useful. Something you'll use once in a while, which is not good for the device manufacturer. The second thing about money, it's much cheaper, people say. That's true, but almost everyone in the world today already has a smartphone. It's not like the market doesn't have a replacement device that people already have, so the switching factor to this new device becomes weak. Now they're sold out, but that's because of early hype. Remember, at some point, the cheap Micromax phones from India were making $1 billion in revenue a year. Now they are making less than 10% of that. Finally, Android and iOS are definitely going to have LAMs, which is the large action models, or something similar. In fact, right after Rabbit's announcement, an open source version was spun up. There is zero software differentiation in AI now. You build something, a decent team out there can build it next week, and an open source team will build it next month and give it to free for everyone. It's just a matter of time. At CES, for example, which is the Consumer Electronics Show, lots of cars showed how ChatGPT is now in the car. Same thing will happen here. If the large action models are good, they will be in Android and iOS soon enough. One thing I've learned the hard way is not to battle with the giants. They have too much money, superior research and marketing, and that's hard to compete with. You need to find gaps they suck at. As Peter Thiel says, competition is for losers, And Rabbit R1 just walked into an arena full of competition. There is one pro though, one reason they might win. One thing I've noticed these days is that sales now has become all about attention. Positive or negative PR doesn't matter. Most people actually have $16,000 or $199 of disposable income, and if something has hype, it'll sell enough to make the team rich. It's still really good looking as a collector's product. I'm also very confident the team will build most products. Most hardware companies start with one thing and then eventually do another thing. You gain experience with the first one and then the second thing comes out really well. So I'm very bullish on the team. If they can pull it off once, they can pull it off multiple times. I'm also very wary of looking at a young, small team trying some new experiment and saying things like it's not going to work. Because I know how fragile early startups are, and the more negative feedback you get, the more you feel like quitting. So I don't want to be the person in the ecosystem who says this is not going to work. The product they're building today might not be a big leap over what currently exists, but I'm very sure the second version or the third version will have enough differentiators. Lastly, one thing is that the device looks gorgeous. The Rabbit R1 company partnered with Teenage Engineering, which is a very, very well-known consumer electronics designer from Sweden. And I'll make a full video on Teenage Engineering. I think they deserve one. The era of high-quality interaction design in the world of hardware is beginning. Welcome to that future.